Numinous Podcast with Carmen Spaniola.
Hi there, and welcome to the Numinous Podcast, where we have interesting conversations with everyday folks about the mystery of life. I'm your host, Carmen Spaniola. I'm joining you from the lands of the Insilkshin-speaking peoples of the Okanagan Nations on our small farm just outside of a small town known as Summerland, BC. Today, we're welcoming back to the show Mara Glatzel, someone I really adore, somebody I really enjoy spending time speaking with. I just love a good hang. I also like being in class with her. She's fantastic. And we're talking about a topic that keeps coming up in conversation everywhere I go, mainly because I keep bringing it up, and that is burnout. It's hard to talk about needs and being in touch and attuned with your needs when you're just too exhausted to meet them anyway. Not only for yourself but for others. It's just ugh, needs. Just one more thing you got to do. But Mara is here to bring us back to the basic framework of how to get our needs met when we're broke or burnt out and when we're experiencing collapse fatigue from the polycrisis, because this is oxygen mask on yourself first situation. We need to stay upright in the polycrisis. If we don't meet our basic needs, bad things happen to our health, bad things happen to our finances, bad things happen because we get laid out, right? So, this is the time when we need very basic reminders. We have to get back to basics and joy, pleasure, desire, pursuing our preferences, knowing what our preferences are, and then pursuing them. These are the basics that I'm talking about. What do you want to say yes to in your life? What do you want to say no to in your life? How do you discern your yes and no when you are so very weary? Mara is here to help us get a handle on it. And by us, I mean me. Okay, just in case you don't make it through the whole episode without interruption, I want to plant the seed now that Mara is hosting a virtual event in August that will help you remember how to have fun while also she's going to offer at the same time in that fun a ton of psychoeducation and tools for muddling through burnout when the demands of life mean you can't just drop everything. You can't just take off on retreat. You can't just down tools, right? So you can find all the links to get Mara's needs quiz. I did it and I did the whole I did like the mini one and then I was like, yeah, I want the whole report. You can get on her newsletter. You'll find that link to the website in the show notes. I'm just saying it now because I don't want you to miss it. There's like free stuff. Imagine if like a Cosmo quiz was actually super useful when you were a kid in the 90s or the 80s. Mara's quiz is like that. It's fun, but it's going to give you something very useful at the end. So for now, let's just have a sweet hang full of contact nutrition with my dear friend, Mara Glatzel. Mara, it's awesome to have you back on the show. I'm excited to talk about some fun things you have going on this summer and also to revisit your book, Needy, because I've been feeling a little thin lately and it's been a great resource. So, since it's your second time on the show, let's have a refresh. What identities are you leading with lately?
Right now, I'm in the process of separating from my partner of 2 decades, and my primary identity is really mother.
Mm.
I'm spending a lot of time like very actively mothering my kids. But I'm a queer femme woman, white, cis, lower middle class, bunny mom.
Oh, what kind of bunny?
I'm not sure. He's fuzzy and he's black and white,
Okay.
and his name is Benito.
Oh, adorable. Wow. Okay. So there's new growth, there's things
Oh yeah.
happening, and big
Yeah,
change.
big change. And yeah, I think like the thing, it's like bunny mom to my kids. I'm trying yet once again, as always, I look to you, Carmen, as so much inspiration. I'm like, I can keep things alive. I mean, I can keep humans alive. I feel very confident in that. I'm good
Good.
at that. But plants, I have a little bit of a difficult time. keeping space for plants. But I'm trying to like think about my life as what am I keeping alive and how are those things like in mutual relationship with me and also nourishing my aliveness, even if they take a lot of effort.
Absolutely. And now, first of all, are you talking about indoor or outdoor plants?
Well, I am newly responsible for very many outdoor plants.
Okay. Yeah.
But and
Okay.
I'm really working on my indoor plants. I have
Okay.
a long history, a storied history of not necessarily killing plants, but they're really just like languishing. And
Yes.
I have a high interest area in humans, and that is how I've
Yeah.
been since I was a little kid. And it's like people
Mhm.
who are like, I just look at the plant and I just know what it needs. I'm like, I
Yeah.
look at a human and I know what it needs. I look at
Yeah,
the plant and I'm
exactly.
like, oh, water?
I'm like that indoors. I'm kind of like indoor plants to me are like cats on leashes. Like you can do it, but they're
Yeah.
not meant to be like that, right? So I agree.
But it's a metaphor, right? Because what I really want, and this just carries through to so many parts of my life, what I really want is to live in a house where there's a lot of lush, alive greenness that
Hmm.
is so nourishing and supportive to me. And the classic quandary with all of this that I presume we talk about today, which is like, if you want that,
Yeah.
you got to be willing to do the things that create the conditions that you desire. And
That's
is
right.
that
Your
not
deed
always
is your
the
desire.
crux?
It's always the crux. Your deed is your desire. And that is so aggravating because it's
Yeah.
like, well, I I know it looks like I desire to be scrolling my phone, eating Honey Nut Cheerios, but it's not. But obviously, if that's what I'm doing, that is what I want to do right then, and that's okay. Uh, so I already know the solution to this, Mara. You need
Okay.
to nurture the human who likes to nurture plants. So you were calling in a plant whisperer for you, and it could be in any kind of relationship configuration. We're not picky at this point, but you nurturing the human who nurtures plants, who fills your house with plants, that's what I'm calling in for you.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I do long for that. I long for that. I long for a high effort situation, which is like you see how much I do in keeping the humans alive, and what you
Yes.
give to me are plants because
Yes.
that makes me so happy.
Totally.
That
Totally.
would be
Yeah.
ideal.
I love this. I love
Um,
this. And then when it comes to the outdoor plants, what I would say is, you can also ask the spirits of place to teach you and tell you what is needed. Just like tell me, give me ideas.
Carmen, it is so beautiful that you say that because last night we're here on a auspicious astrological day, and
Yeah.
last night my kids have been having a lot of nightmares. We're having a lot of change in our household. I've been having some nightmares, so I was doing a space clearing and like setting up energy fields before I went to bed, and something so beautiful happened, which was that in my visualization. I could see there's like trees, big and small, that kind of are around my house in a circle. And I could see that sort of like a circus tent, which I went to a circus yesterday, so maybe this is why. There were all of these like twinkle lights, like from the trees
Mm.
to the house, and that
Mm.
the web went like underneath the foundation of the house.
Beautiful.
And I think you're onto something there with
Hmm.
I could really feel the aliveness of the land, which I live it's a small plot of land.
Yeah.
It's not expansive. Um but and it's new. And something that I'm always also thinking about, which I think is pertinent to our conversation, is the encouragement that
Mm.
is required to do something that you feel unsure of.
Hmm.
And just really, for the first time in my life, spending a lot of time giving myself that encouragement that I would formerly have tried to outsource from somebody else. Like, am I doing a good
Hmm.
job? Am I doing all these things?
Mm. Hmm.
And really noticing that whenever I have like, I don't know how to do this, I'm like, I can do hard things. I do hard things all the time. I could
Hmm.
Google it. I could ask a friend. I could
Hmm.
fuck around and find out and just try a few things.
Hmm.
And My goal for this year is less trying to be impressive and more open-hearted joy, which is
Oh, yeah.
a very vulnerable intention for me,
Yeah.
having after a lifetime of really just like wanting to be impressive. Enneagram
Mhm.
3.
Mm. I find as a person who is also like having to humble herself to in order to have the things and do the things that I want, I have to admit I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And I am starting to really embrace that as a superpower, maybe as an armor or certainly as a cape. But the idea, like, I just went to a working horses training clinic this weekend, 3 days, and I was just auditing because I can't get my horses there because I'm so new on horses. My horses are so green. I can't even get my horses to the clinic. So I'm watching other people on their horses 6 hours a day for 3 days. And people would be like, "Oh, do you have someone in the?" And I would say, like, "No, I got my first horses, and I'm here learning." And I was talking to the cowboy afterwards, and he came to do a site visit to help me figure out what to do. And I just had to be like, "Yeah, I don't know. I've never, I've never done this before. I've been like working with them. I've been learning from YouTube. I've watched you on YouTube. This is what I'm doing." And, I'm just like an old dog learning new tricks. And he's like, "Well, we should be learning and every day until the day we die, we should be learning something. And if you're not learning something, you're in trouble because things are always changing. Conditions are always changing. So if you're not always learning, you're getting into trouble." I was like, this is a really, anyway. So I felt
Mm-hmm.
exactly what you're saying, but like there's just no way I'm going to be impressive in this scenario. And so I'm just going to very vulnerably own that I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm totally open to learning. And I don't these aren't necessarily the best icons, but these are two people I think about a lot lately. Like Martha Stewart didn't start her Martha Stewart living Omnimedia till she was 50. Louise Hay didn't start Hay House until she was 50. So,
Mm-hmm.
there's plenty of time to become impressive. But if you want to become impressive, you got to start somewhere. So I'm delighted for this era for you. So bring us around because today we want to talk about tending and needs.
Mm-hmm.
Your book, Needy. Can you tell us the title of your book and basically the synopsis? Because I did your quiz last night and I want us to drill down into the
Mm-hmm.
5 basic needs, even though there's more in your book. So, can you give us the big picture? What's your book? What's it about?
Yeah, the book is called Needy, How to Advocate for Your Needs and Reclaim Your Sovereignty. And it is part self-help and part memoir. It is really it really begins with me a decade ago with a brand new baby, realizing that I had been able to kind of meet my needs without really knowing what they are, just throwing spaghetti at the wall. But then all of a sudden I had this baby and I needed all of this help, but I didn't know what to ask for. And I certainly did not want to ask for it. Like was not well practiced in asking for it. And really having this understanding of myself of like, wow, I have not, I have spent my life in pursuit of not wanting to be seen as needy by somebody else. And believing that the presence of having needs is great for somebody else, like fully love that for everyone else. But there's something special and different about me that makes me just like hardier, you know, exempt, exempt from that, right? Um, and, I think that what is also true, is that you can operate without needs for a period of time. And what I find is for myself, certainly, and for many of my clients, is that around the time of entering into perimenopause, and for me, it was like postpartum dovetailed into perimenopause, was like the jig is up. I everything that I could kind of cover and sort of meet and sort of do half do was just no longer enough or viable for me. And so what Needy offers is both role modeling. I remember when my book was coming out, my dad was like, "Are you ready? Are you happy to become like the neediest woman in America? That's your brand." And I said, yeah, somebody has to go first. If I have to write this whole book and be like, I'm incredibly needy and I'm learning to accept that about myself. And I would say now I even love that about myself. The role modeling is really important because many of us don't have role models when it comes to having people who say, hey, this is what I need. And I'm not ashamed of it. Like we all need things. Some of our needs are similar, some of our needs are different. And many of us are chasing these lives of like rich, luscious meaning and nourishment. And we're trying to, do listicle after listicle and all of these different things instead of learning the language of our own bodies, learning the language of our own yearnings, of our own neurotype, of our own, like set of chronic illnesses, all of the things that we may have going on. We all have specific requirements for wellness and for thriving. And so it's about that role modeling, but also about cultivating a shared vocabulary. Because another thing I hear very often from my clients is like, I don't even know what's on the table to need. What am I
Mhm.
even allowed to ask for? What do people ask for when you say, what do you need right now? And it is quite literally that we don't know the words,
Mhm.
but it's also that we were never taught that we were allowed to have it or that it was safe
Mhm.
or okay to have it.
Mhm.
And
Or
so
to
what
connect
needy
that sensation to a word. It's like, oh, I know what inspiration means, but I
Yeah.
don't know what this feeling I'm having right now. What is
Yeah.
this feeling? And it's like, oh, I think that's yearning, wanting,
Mhm.
needing. But how would I know the thing that I need is inspiration? Like to be able to start with I'm feeling something or I'm behaving in a certain way. Like it's not just I need to articulate what my needs are, but like what is this feeling I'm feeling in my body?
Yeah. And so my work is primarily focused on cultivating a trustworthy relationship with yourself. Like even thinking about advocating for your needs actively is kind of like a step beyond. I do that work, but my primary interest, just as a person, is in how do we develop a relationship with ourselves so we even know what to ask for. So that
Mhm.
when I have this feeling and I'm like, well, I'm needing inspiration, I also know that for me, the doorways, my kind of like preferred strategies for getting that need met, the doorways for that are gonna be certain kinds of books or TV shows. I love romances specifically. I love really bold colors. The doorways are specific for each of us, right? If we think about something like sustenance, even rest, right? We all kind of actively rest, like horizontally sleep. We all need that. But passive rest, where it might be for one person doing watercolors, for another person, it's doing a daily card pull, for another person, it looks like reading or doing some kind of parallel play with your human where you're just kind of together in space and time. And so our lives become immediately more satisfying if we know not only what we're yearning for, but how we desire to have that need
Mhm. Mhm.
and as specific as possible. When
Mhm.
people come on retreats with me, I really geek out. I'm like, okay, tell me like exactly how you like your coffee. Tell me, all these little special things. And they're like, it's whatever's fine. I'm like, no, no, whatever's fine is not going to work because part of what I love is to know specifically because I think it's so important. I've noticed such an increase in my own satisfaction in my life when I know exactly like the mug, the ratio of all things to all things. Like I want that coffee to be just so.
Mhm.
And that's when that need, it's not just a need for caffeine. It's a
Mhm.
need for being seen and being known and being tended to so specifically and preciously that
Mhm.
makes me feel cherished. And that requires some data. That requires some trial and error, but also some data, some willingness, some language. And so the book kind of walks through my own personal experience of doing that work while also sharing journal prompts and exercises and all kinds of things that people can try. Because the last thing I'll say is I'm a huge proponent of not waiting until you figure out all of your stuff to start experimenting because figuring out your stuff requires a lot of energy that most of us don't have. And our lives, it's like you spend so much time on the journey. I want that journey to be as satisfying and delicious and wonderful and cozy as possible. And so the
Hmm.
work is really about that piece.
Mm. Is there an archetype of sorts of people who have a hard time articulating or who have this extreme aversion to needs? Like you and I are both attachment geeks, right? We love to nerd out on that stuff. Maybe that's part of it. There could be other things going on, but what's the through line you notice with your clients? Who do you see struggling the most naming their needs?
This just happened. I run a program called Summer Camp, and we were watching Practical Magic for our summer camp movie night, and we
Nice.
were all like watching it on Zoom. And then all of a sudden, because it's like, Sally's life in that movie is very oldest sister coded. And I'm like constantly healing my eldest sister archetype. And of course, in the room, everyone was like, I'm an oldest sister, I'm an oldest sister, I'm an oldest sister. I'm like, okay, so this doesn't surprise me at all. And my younger sister, who was also there, she was like, "Well, what about me?" I'm like, "Okay, it is definitely oldest sisters. I run
Mhm.
with a crew of oldest sisters for sure. But it is also oldest girl in the family,
Yeah,
not
eldest
always
daughter
oldest
syndrome,
sister.
man. Hmm.
But it's those of us who for so many reasons, learn to shoulder that heavy mantle of responsibility at an early age and are devoted to trying to work our way to getting our needs met. It's like if I do enough and well enough, at some point, my needs will be, it's like the pot at the end of the rainbow.
Right.
But we have been working for decades
Hmm.
and getting burnt out for decades. And so my work is really a refuge for those people where I'm like, yes, it is hard. And yes, the fantasy is if I do a good enough job, if I am good enough, somebody else is going to come and they're going to know just what I need and they're going
Yeah.
to give it to me.
They're going to see me because it's self-evident. You think you're doing so much. You're like, look, like I'm telling you, perhaps in every way but word. Someone's going to come along who's tracking me so carefully, and then it's just like, oh yeah, totally, this is what you need. And I'm not going to have to articulate it. I don't have to, if I have to tell you,
I
that
don't even want it.
already makes me feel, yeah,
Hard though. Yeah. Yes. So
okay.
my people are in quite a pickle, and it is such a resonant pickle for me personally. Um, because the idea, I remember, like, it's like I tried so many things and just coming back to it, I'm like, okay, so it's like, it's me. It's me. I'm the person I'm waiting for. Like, what
Mhm.
bullshit? I was and am so mad, right? Because so many of us started adulting when we were children.
Mhm.
And your inner kid has that longing just to be tended to
Mhm.
without having
Adored.
to earn
Mhm.
it and
Mhm.
adored and cherished. And ugh, I just wrote this whole thing about the difference between being tolerated and being cherished. And it's like,
Oh.
ugh, ugh,
Mm.
ugh. And the idea that you can somehow, because all of my people are very ambitious, really super smart, doing the most,
Mhm.
right? So that's your wheelhouse. And you're like, yeah, if I just like bust ass and be amazing, be impressive, at some point, somebody's gonna be like, look at how much you've done. You should take a nap. Look at how much you've done. Like, let me feed you a sandwich, you know? Um, and that never happened.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
what's a person to do? You have all
Mhm.
these needs.
Mhm.
Apparently nobody's coming to rescue me from them.
Mhm.
So what's a person to do?
So, well, first of all, a person takes your quiz and a
Yeah.
person gets the five basic needs. I did it and was like, this is, when you know something, And you might even teach about it, advocate about it, have just told a client about it. And then you read it and it's for you and you're like, wow, I am being read right now. This is totally what I need. Why am I not, So tell it. The book Needy has many different needs, many different kinds. But if a person is feeling so burnt out and overwhelmed right now that they can't even conceive of reading a book, if they took your quiz, what are the five basic needs? We just start somewhere basic.
Yeah. So the five basic needs that are in the quiz are rest, sustenance, safety, inspiration, and connection. And we have more needs, but I think those are a really good starting point. And so something that I'll say to you, dear listener, is that we just talked about how you just all you want is for somebody to be like, this is what you need. This is a doorway, and I want that too. And so what I created in this quiz is that it's like the people in your life may not be lining up to be like, this is what you need. This might feel good, right? I'm understanding you. But and you ache for that. And I just want to deliver that to you in some small part. That's like such a deep desire for me. So what I see the quiz as is you take the quiz, it takes you less than 10 minutes. It's like 12, 13 questions. And it will give you one of these five needs, and it's a doorway. It's a starting point. I'm going to give you my best resources and practices and tools for how to meet that need. There's a private podcast where I have a little audio that you can listen to about that need. Um, I'm going to actually give you I'm going to give you what your result is, but I'm going to give you the whole workbook that has all five
Yeah.
needs because our needs change and I want
Yeah.
you to have it all.
And I read it and was like, oh, yeah, but I also have a bit of that. I have a bit of that. I
Yeah.
have a bit of that. Like we have them all. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and I think that what is so important is the specificity piece. So many of us, it's like we don't really know, and we're too tired to figure it out. So it's like, I'm going to throw something at this
Hmm.
problem that is my physical and emotional body.
Hmm.
I'm going to just like throw something at it. It's going to be like enough for right now, maybe. But it's always disappointing, and you get this feeling of like, it's not even worth it.
Hmm.
Is
Yeah.
it even worth it taking care of myself? It never changes anything. I never feel any better.
Hmm.
And so my work is really about doing less and doing it more often and doing it as specifically as possible because we're burnt out. And then we read like a listicle of 10 things. And I'm like, well, I love baths now. I hate baths. I hate scented candles. I hate, whatever. That's none of these things are going to work for me. I guess this just doesn't apply to me, right?
Hmm.
My
Once
people
again,
really
I'm
struggle
special.
with like,
Yeah.
I'm special and I don't have needs. Other people have needs, but it's like, this is the thesis of my book is you're a human, you have needs. We all have needs.
Yes.
Whether or not you know how somebody else is dealing with their needs is really their business, not yours, but I guarantee we all have them. It's not
Hmm.
embarrassing, it's a fact, not a flaw. And the better equipped that we can be in knowing what we need and how we want that need met,
Hmm.
the more nourished we're going to be. And this is the kind of care that goes alongside everything that you're doing. It's not like waiting until you have enough pennies saved up to take a vacation or, have magically like 2 weeks off in your calendar. It's like that.
Hmm.
There's so much magical thinking around like when I get to that place, I will take care of myself.
Hmm.
And this is so much more about meeting yourself in the mess of your life. And it's like, okay, like in this season, at this time, what works for me? What makes me come alive? What makes me stay alive at this
Right.
time right now?
I'm glad you brought up the money part because, of course, there are plenty of miserable rich people. But what do you say to people when truly they're just like, but actually it's capitalism. Like, but actually I do just need money. Like I'm having a hard time paying rent or I'm spiraling into debt or I've lost, you know what I mean? It's like, yes, you have needs, but you're so in survival. But then
Mhm.
you're in this vicious cycle of you can't actually mobilize if you don't get some basic, like, how are you working? Especially we're several years into a pandemic. There's multiple, the rise of fascism is attacking us on multiple fronts, etc.
Mhm.
So, what are you saying to people about like truly,
Mhm.
even though we're in collapse and it is intensifying and it's going to continue to intensify,
Mhm.
this is like basic bare bones survival skills around our basic mammalian needs. What do you say to people who are just kind of in that I give up place?
Mhm. I think that knowing what you need and how to get those needs met in creative, free, accessible ways is a clap skill.
Mhm.
Because what is true is the more acutely stressful your life is, the more you actually need your needs to be met, right? If you're living a relatively comfortable life with a fair amount of cash, your needs are getting met. I mean, you will have needs that aren't, but like your base needs are getting met. And you're not worrying about, am I going to be able to pay my mortgage this month, right? Or am I going to be able to put food on the table this week? But the more acutely stressful our lives are, the more resourcing that we require to keep showing up for those lives. And so, I am really invested in just personally, frankly, but also professionally, really invested in like, what does it look like to, um, like not even just subsist, but like to surround myself with what is available to me right now. And that could be um things like putting your feet on the ground
Mhm.
and for 5 minutes. It
Mhm.
could be, I have a friend, Jessie Harrell, Jessie,
Yeah.
of course. And she says has a thing about first sip outside, which I actually really love. And for some reason, it's coming to mind right now. It's like taking your first sip of your coffee outside or looking out a
Mhm.
window. What is available to me right now by way of getting my needs met? Um, and I think it's really important, especially during these times, that we are conscious of diversifying how we're thinking about getting our needs met.
Mhm.
So in my courses, I always work with people. I'm like, we're developing, say we would take a need like sustenance, and we would develop a list that would have like, this is how I can get my need met solo with myself or with the land, with, non-human beings. And this is how I could get that need met with other people. Because what I find is we have a heavy emphasis on wanting to get our needs met with other people. But
Mhm.
during these times, our beloveds are less available, have less capacity. And so even when we might go to somebody else and be like, "Hey, are you available to meet me in this need today?" And the answer might be no, and it might be no for a long time, just
Mhm.
because of what that person is working with and the stress they're
Mhm.
holding on to. And so, I think that this way of thinking too is really important. It's like, what's available to me when no one else is available to me? What are
Mhm.
my resources? Like, how can I connect with this bunny? How can I
Mhm.
connect with this land beneath my feet? Like, what free resources are available in my community? Like, can I go to the public library on Thursdays where they have live music and there's going to be people in my community that I know? So I can hear the music, I can see a show, it's free, it's outdoors, and there's going to be some people there,
Mhm.
right? So, I never having had much money myself, and always having had a lot of financial stress, like from childhood through to adulthood. Um, it's really important to acknowledge that it is difficult to prioritize yourself and your needs when you have very real financial needs.
Mhm.
But and also understanding the toll of that stress. It's like I
Mhm.
need that support more so than
Totally.
somebody else with a lot of resources might. Not that, that person doesn't have needs. Of course they do. But the
Mhm.
acute stress of worrying about how you're going to make it work is so profound.
Mhm.
And I just think at this time, and I've learned
Mhm.
so much about this from you, Carmen, it's like as crises continue, as they compound, that knowing how to continually and daily resource ourselves with what is available
Mhm.
I mean, for me, it's the difference of everything. And
Absolutely.
it can be small. It has to be small.
It has to be small. And what's at stake? I'm glad you brought it around here. I don't want to like bring people into like a scary place or anything, but the reality is, and you would see this, like, what are some of the signs and symptoms? What's at stake when we're under acute, chronic, unrelenting, compounding, converging stress, and we don't sort of draw the line in the sand and say like enough is enough. I have to like put the oxygen mask on myself now. Like what are some of the signs and symptoms and patterns that you see?
Yeah, so I think that, well, I'll say one of the trickiest things about burnout for me, and I think for my folks, is that because of the yearning to be impressive, because of the competency, the drive for competency, it's like when symptoms of our burnout start showing up, where maybe we're more exhausted, we're more emotionally fragile, we have a harder time holding all of the things together and performing on cue, and those things start to happen, we might read that as I'm failing and I need to work even harder so that nobody sees it, so that
Mm-hmm.
I am not, further injured by my visible weaknesses. And as we get burnt out, we become more emotional, more erratic. There's nothing wrong with being emotional, obviously, but
Well, and
that kind
sometimes
of,
the emotions are we're irritable.
yes,
It's not just that
yeah,
we're fragile in the
yes.
aversive way of those of us who don't want to have needs. It can also be that we're getting bitchy. Like
Yeah.
we're
Well,
getting
and
a
for
tone.
me, one of my as a very sensitive neurodivergent human, I have such an auditory sensitivity. I have two young children. And it's like I cannot live in my body with the sounds that they are joyfully making while they are playing. Like these things become immediately untenable because I am bolting from my skin. I'm like, I put a hair tie in my hair. I can feel the elastic in my hair strands. These are the things that I start to notice, like, okay, we really need to think about it. So, when I work with people, I work with them on creating kind of a burnout warning scale. So we think like from 0 to 10, and we start to sort of track, okay, physically, emotionally, and relationally, what is happening to me as I get more burnt out? So that for two reasons. The first is so that we can see this is a symptom of burnout and not a moral failing.
Hmm.
But the second piece is so that we can say, like, all right, well, I'm a 7. And
Hmm.
I don't want to get to an 8 because when I get to an 8, the walls start closing in and I start to believe that I'm not even deserving of the care that I need and things get really dark really quickly.
Hmm.
So having that kind of understanding, I think is really crucial to being a person on the planet right now. I said to Carmen before we got on the podcast that, in 2026, it's not an if, it's a when. Burnout is in the room with us all the time. And I feel like my relationship with burnout has gone from like I am well or I am burnt out to like kind of a daily dance of
Hmm.
hello, old friends,
Hmm.
auditory sensitivity, everything feels bad on my body, underwear immediately suddenly way too tight. Like I'm starting to just kind of like collapse into myself.
Hmm.
And the way that I think about this is that I need and want to be present and accounted for during this time on the planet. I have children, I have clients, I have a community, I'm a select board member. I like run my very small town of 2,000 people with four other fine folks. I have a role that I care about.
Hmm.
And I'm the vessel for all of those contributions. So I have got to care about myself too.
Hmm.
Otherwise, immediately I'm not available to show up for these things that matter, not just to me, but to other people.
Hmm.
And that, you know, I don't know. I toggle on this because part of me is like, for the eldest sister healing, I need to tell everyone, like, you get to heal just for your own self, and it doesn't,
Mhm.
your contributions don't matter,
Right. It's
but
not so that you can
also
contribute more.
we're relational beings.
Mhm.
And I want to have the capacity to be like, yeah, flex, no problem. My sister has 3 kids under the age of 4. Like, I can pick one of those kids up. I can, I'm here. My dad needs help moving a thing. It's like I want to be able to have the
Mhm.
capacity for my people.
Mhm.
That's part of what makes me whole and well as a person too.
Mhm.
And so I think there's a real both and because it's like as a human, I have needs and I do take those needs seriously, like just for my own pleasure and enjoyment as the soft
Mhm.
animal of my body.
Mhm.
But and like as a
Mhm.
cog in a ecosystem that I care deeply about, I also care about my ability to like use my capacity to be in this interwoven, multi-layered and intergenerational crew that
Mhm.
I've cultivated.
Mhm. Absolutely. So tell us how and when. I know you have something happening that sounds like sleepaway camp for eldest daughters and eldest sisters, but it's virtual.
Yeah.
What's happening?
I'm making a new thing. It's going to be here the first week of August. It is called tentatively Wet, a weekend of tending your radiant aliveness. And it has big slumber party vibes. When I was a kid, I used to throw the most epic slumber parties. It was like there was an ice cream sundae bar. We were watching Poltergeist. We were doing light as a feather, stiff as a board. We were playing MASH. We were doing tarot readings for each other. We were choreographing dances. We had fake nails.
Yes,
It was a whole scene.
I
In
love
the
it.
morning, there were waffles.
Yes.
So the weekend is going to be like that, but it's virtual. And it's a burnout antidote for these
Nice.
times. It's community, it's doing this work in good company, but with like a lot of silliness.
Mm.
Because what I find is that part of the respite that we ache for is just joy
Mhm.
without having to earn it.
Mhm.
It's getting to opt in and out for the parts that you are desiring and interested in without any heavy-handed like participation. It's like you can come, you can be, I mean, it's not even like be a C+ student. You don't have to be a student at all. You can be just, whatever you are.
Mhm.
But it is going to be a weekend where I'm going to do both, sharing some of my best tools around
Mhm.
tending to and triaging your burnout. But
Mhm.
we're going to do it in like the silliest and most fun way. Like there will be truth or dare. There will
Nice.
be a night where we're going to do like card pulls and tarot spreads and, fun things together. Um, and there'll be a workshop where I'm going to do, some kind of work. And we're also going to do something really fun that I did recently in a workshop, which is creating a dopamine menu for all of your inner people. So, like your inner kid, your inner teen, your like inner kind of like 20s, 30s. And, so thinking about how you're bringing joy into your life, but like as it relates to these different times where you were into things and it felt really good. I'm in
Mhm.
this time where I've been with somebody since I was 23 years old. And so I've been hanging out with my early 20s self, and she likes iced coffee and she likes to go for drives, which are not financially viable in this economic climate. And she likes to listen to music really, really loud.
Yeah.
And she likes to do things for the plot, which is how I got the bunny. And, these are the things that brought me so much joy during a time of my life. And just remembering those things and like reconnecting with a version of myself before I had kids, before I had my business, before I had all of these things has been just, it's been silly and it has been nourishing to a part of me that I have not had access to in so long. So we're gonna do all
Mhm.
those fun things. And uh yeah, come hang out with me. If you find me on Instagram at Mara Glatzel or you take my quiz and get on my list, I'll get you all the information when the doors open.
That's what I highly recommend people do. You're giving me such great ideas. And that is a thing. I live on the land that is my in-laws' land. And I've realized like that displacement has taken away a lot of the things that I used to self and co-regulate with. Like I used to co-regulate a lot with beauty and everything. So I used to like take long showers to self-regulate. And like now with the way we live, water scarcity, I can't do that. So it's like, oh, there's less available to me that I didn't even realize were major, huge needs. And so having something that's like a bit more, portable, free, like a
Mm.
playlist. Like I can put Bruce Springsteen in my ears and listen, like I can do that while I'm choring. I can do that while I'm cleaning the house. I could, to take me to a time and place where there was that access to joy and of pretty I'm not going to say naive, but like unfettered, uninhibited kind of self, right? That was just like, yeah, this is what I like. I'm a graveyard cook at a cafe and I basically live on decaf iced mochas and that pepperoni and Twizzlers. Yeah, like pretty simple things. So
Yeah.
I'm going to encourage people definitely to sign up to be on your list so we know when the registration is for wet, and also take the quiz because I know
Mm.
this stuff. I will teach this. I recognize this, and clients go like, hey, maybe we need to. I needed it too. When
Mm.
I was like, what, going deeper into the question, what do I really need? I was like, I don't know. I can name a million things, but I have no idea where to start. So I think this is an excellent and very timely resource you're offering.
Thank you. Yeah, it's like back to the garden thing. It's like if I want this garden, I
Mhm.
have got to water it.
Yeah,
I'll tell
yeah.
you what I don't want to do is water
What
it.
is it? Exactly, exactly. I have to
And I
tend
have to have a
it.
little
Wah, wah.
I have to have
Yeah,
a little chat with myself, which is like, well,
yeah, yeah.
and the same too is true for me, right? I have to water me if I want to be like fluid and flexible and pliant and nimble. Like one of my
Hmm.
greatest desires is to be nimble. And, if I am taking myself for granted, exploiting, extracting from myself, putting my needs last, like I'm becoming calcified by the second. And it is quite literally like drinking water. I
Right.
mean, it was
Which is
like
not a
you're
thing that I do. I have to be forthcoming. I don't drink water. It turns out that those of us who are very sensitive to smells like petrichor, the smell of like earth
I
after rain, also can experience drinking water as tasting like dirt. So I'm just speaking to all of the people who are like, I literally won't water myself. I do drink fluids. I drink other things. I also just want to say, Mara, like this idea of doing something for the plot, since you said that a minute ago, I'm like, oh, I do a lot of stuff for the plot.
Mm.
And that I do think is important. Like I'm growing giant pumpkins, and this is my goal anyway. And I'm very behind. And I was saying to Ruben today, I was like, I'm probably I just pollinated the flowers on the pumpkin. It has to have, it's such a magical thing. You have to have like a male flower from this plant and a female flower from that plant, then you pollinate them. And I was like saying to Ruben, yeah, I probably don't have enough time to grow a big enough pumpkin to enter into the Summerland Fall Fair and beat my rival, my nemesis, who doesn't know he's my nemesis, but he's like a
Mhm.
12-year-old kid named Tiger Calhoun who won a whole bunch of growing things last year. And my friend Sarah put on an Instagram comment was like, you moving to a rural community to strike up a rivalry with a 12-year-old in pumpkin growing is the wholesome content we all need. I was like, yeah,
Mhm.
I don't have time to beat him probably this year, but I do have time to mount quite a vigorous intimidation campaign where I grow it really long and then around Halloween take pictures of my giant pumpkin. Ruben's just like, yeah, it's a good thing there's nothing else to do around this farm. Like, it's like the thing is, you got to do some stuff for the plot. You got
Mhm.
to do it for the plot. You got to be inspired. It's main character energy. I want to be the main character of my life. And
Yeah.
who doesn't want a nemesis named Tiger Calhoun? Who cares that he's 12? This is the thing that we do to be inspired, to seek joy and pleasure. So, how are you finding joy and pleasure outside of the bunny? Like you, Mara, what's giving you joy and pleasure these days?
Okay. Well, I am in the process of separating my home from my partner, which is very sad and weird. And
I mean, I'm
what
sorry about that, but I also want to say I feel celebratory for you,
yes. Yeah.
right? So maybe you can't hold that right now, but my impulse is to say congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
And so what I whisper, I go to bed whispering this to myself every night, which is like Barbie dream house. And so, I never had a home of my own because I met my partner when I was 23 and I was living with my dad and I moved into our first apartment together. And I have a very joyful and colorful maximalist style that I have been kind of happily compromising on for, 2 decades. But what I am really getting into right now is thinking about like I just ordered a pink bath curtain that has cheetahs all over it. And I'm hanging like tons of art. I mean, we had
Nice.
art, but it was like, this is a wall and this is its one piece of art. And I'm like, okay, museum walls for everyone.
Right.
I am bringing plants back. I'm trying again with the plants. So what is bringing me so much joy is bringing a part of what is inside of me and externalizing it so that when I look around my house, I'm like, oh, this is so great. And actually, what the
Yes.
greatness is me. I'm
Yes.
seeing me here.
Oh my gosh,
And,
it's making me cry.
that's like
Yes.
I got pink linen sheets. So great. I'm
Yes.
watching TV in bed, which I had long punished myself and told myself I couldn't do because it's bad for your sleep, but I love.
Yes.
I'm taking way too many baths. At some point in perimenopause, I became a bath person. I was like a devout bath hater for
Okay.
the first 40 years of my life, let's say.
Wow.
And I now take a bath like every day, pretty much.
Wow.
I love to take a candlelit bath,
Wow.
just candles, lights,
Amazing.
phone. I mean, I'm like,
Yeah.
this is not necessarily peaceful. I like scroll when I'm in the bathtub or whatever.
Oh my gosh, my
Um,
friend Jessie Hemphill, I see her on Instagram sometimes where she's in her candlelit bath with her thing that goes across the bathtub and she puts the screen there and she'll watch Outlander.
yeah. Oh yeah.
What?
I'm
Yeah.
watching Scandal right now, which I is a beloved
Yes.
show to me. So
Yes.
like, but I
Amazing.
also just finished Love Island. I watched all of Love Island, which I
People
swore
can't
to
make me watch that
myself.
show. I'm not watching
Okay,
reality show. Reality show is too cringy. I can't.
I was this. I was you, not but 7 weeks ago. And then I just watched one episode. I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden I was like, now I have to watch an hour to an hour and a half of this show every day. But I would watch that in the
Wow.
bath.
Wow.
But I think this is the piece. It's like I am at an open time in my life and I'm becoming new. So I'm saying yes to
Yes.
things. Like
Yeah.
people invite me to do stuff. I'm like, that doesn't sound like me, but all right, I'll try it.
Yeah.
I'm dressing in ways I would maybe not have dressed before. I'm eating things that maybe I wouldn't have eaten before. And it's really just like I'm just in an open time where
I
I'm
love
like
it.
available to try things out, especially if there's something in me that says like for the plot, that sounds fun.
Totally.
Um,
I think I read in your workbook that you get when you do the quiz
yeah,
something about like, well, now you've learned that you loved this part of the
yeah,
party, but you didn't love the part where you were allergic to all the food on the buffet or it went a little late or, whatever. You learned that. So maybe it's like, I learned that I do love dressing a certain way, except for the hat. When I get out into public wearing a hat, it's like everybody knows I've never done this before.
Mhm.
Like,
Absolutely.
and I'm about to trip because I'm wearing a hat or something like that. They can tell I'm not a hat person. So I have to get this off. But everything else I liked. Maybe I do
Yeah.
like the little, this is good data because how could you possibly know unless you give it a go, right?
And this is from my very first coaching program that I ever taught 16 years ago. I called this being a detective to your own experience. And I have continued teaching it ever since. It's basically like it's data.
Mm-hmm.
It's data about you in context. And how are you supposed to make better fitting decisions for yourself the next time around if you're not doing like, I mean, this is low key. There's hardly like spreadsheets or anything, but I'm just noticing like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I was vaguely irritated by X, Y, and Z, but I loved everything else. So next
Yes,
time, could I eat beforehand? Or could I don't know, wear shorts underneath my dress? Or, they can be small
totally.
things. Do it at a
Absolutely.
different time of day, do it with different company, do it by myself instead.
Yeah. Yeah. I love
And
it.
this is how, it is through experiencing our lives. This is why I don't want anyone to wait until they're like capital H healed to
Mm-hmm.
start trying things because I think this is the only way that we can start understanding not necessarily our needs. Our needs is like the big bucket and the wants are the how, right? The needs are the what and the wants are the how. So, maybe we all need sustenance, but how we want that need met is hugely up for debate and is going to be personal for all of us. And
Mm.
how we know what those solutions are is through trying some things and being like, I like that. I don't like that. This is easiest for me for so many reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. I'm just thinking for some reason about so I became the select board member and the tree, I have to have things printed out, which is
Mm-hmm.
not good for the trees, but
Okay.
if we're like working on this like big thing about our shared water resources and you want me to really take it in
Yeah.
and take notes and be prepared, I have to have that printed out. I have to be reading it with a pen. It's like that's the
I'm the
only way
same.
my brain works.
Mm-hmm.
And, I have so many clients who are like, well, I don't want to need what I need, and I don't want to want what I want. I want to be better or different. But at some
Mm-hmm.
point, we have to just come to terms with the fact that, like, we are how we are, and
Mm-hmm.
we need what we need. And I am going to need you to print that out for me so that I can
Mm-hmm.
read it,
Mm-hmm.
which is just such a specific example. But I think the more that we can have that kind of understanding of, like, what makes it possible for me to show up well
Mm-hmm.
meaning I'm well, right? Not just
Mm-hmm.
like perfectly prepared.
Mm-hmm.
The more we can do those things on purpose, and then things start getting really good and so much easier because you stop trying to pretend to be somebody that you're not.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'll give you a perfect example, which has to do with you, Carmen. You are so very brilliant, and the way that you teach is so very brilliant, and I admire so much. And if I could have my druthers, I would be able to keep things in mind and present things in a certain way, and it would be so much more academically rigorous because that is what I like and that is what I wish I was. But the last 2 years, I'm like, I am throwing a slumber party. Like
Yeah.
I have to back my own self. It's not that I don't
Yes.
do depth work. It's not that I don't all of these things, but it's like I can't create it's just not going to be a good fit for me. And this is
Yeah.
something that I have fought myself over for so many years because I'm like, I admire these people so much and I want to do great work like they're doing. But we have got to be ourselves in it. And
Yes.
and we have to know who we are and how those
Yes.
things express themselves because my life up until, easily the middle of my 30s was like I actually don't want to be me. That's like
Mm.
that's not an answer. I will
Mm-hmm.
work on end to be better than I perceive myself, different than I perceive myself to be. But talk about a burnout. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you will burn yourself out trying to be somebody that you're not. And so,
Mm-hmm.
at some point we got to just be like, hey, like,
Mm-hmm.
it's fucking awesome. And she teaches in an incredible way that only she can. But I got my own thing going on and I'm going to do that too, right? And that
Totally.
doesn't mean it's less. And I
And
think this has so much to
thank
do with that
goodness.
data.
Totally. We need slumber parties. We want slumber parties. We want that,
Somebody's
that
got to
sounds
throw them.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
was that what?
I said, yeah, and somebody's got to throw them.
Somebody's got to throw them. And quite frankly, I want it to be somebody who understands the fitness of things, a person who is going to throw it really well, like you're
Yeah.
describing. And I'm like, see, that's how you throw a slumber party. I don't want to, don't invite me over and there's no food. It's just popcorn or whatever. Don't invite me over and you haven't thought about breakfast the next day. This is the slumber party I want to go to. So 10 out of 10, I highly endorse. This is a Carmen Spaniola certified slumber party by Mara Glatzel. That's the, I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for coming on the show to just jam on this. It's so timely, it's so needed, and you make it so fun. I'm so glad you were here today.
Thank you for having me. This was so great. I really appreciate it.
Okay, as I said at the top, you're going to want to go sign up for Mara's newsletter so that you know when registration opens for her Slumber Party Burnout Treatment Plan event, WET, which is happening in August, and it's virtual, and you can pop in and out. And anyway, in this episode, we kind of hovered around the fact that I teach a facilitation style that is based in attachment, somatics, and collapse awareness, and a lot of disability justice, of which Mara has done all three levels. So you can bet that Mara will make this so accessible for you, so accessible. So you will be able to participate in as much or as little as you want. It'll be very consent-based. If you don't want to be perceived, but you still want to be there, she's going to create conditions in which you can participate at like the Goldilocks amount that's going to work with your energy bank. Okay. For what it's worth, also, I am running level 1 again of my facilitation training in the fall 2026 here, and I likely won't run it again until fall of 2027. You know why? Because I keep talking about burnout, and I think it's because I'm talking to me. So if you're interested, if you think that these are life skills you'd like to strengthen in a community of practice, then you should check out the show notes because you'll find a link to my website. You'll also find a link to Mara's book, Needy, and my forthcoming book, which drops November 4th from Ninth House Press. It's called How to Connect. It's about contact nutrition. While you're there on my website trying to pre-order my book, once again, I highly, highly recommend that you purchase the Power Reader bundle of all the titles from the debut catalog of Ninth House Press, because that's how you'll get free shipping and 15% off, plus a cute little tote. And all the books will arrive early November, just in time for gift giving season. So read them all and then gift the ones that you know somebody else is totally going to love. You can pre-order them now at ninthhousepress.com. As always, we're over here in the Numinous Network, sort of adjacent community to the Numinous podcast, and we're talking about topics like this in the live sessions, things like discerning your own needs when you're just treading water trying to survive capitalism, or things like navigating burnout when maybe you have householders, maybe multiple householders who have disabilities or are aging, or you yourself might have episodic or dynamic disability. And we're supporting each other with these dilemmas every day. Things like this come up in our live calls in the Numinous Network every day. So you should just come join us, even just for a month. Just like try out a couple calls, see if you like us. We're serving up contact nutrition in every somatics class, which happens like 5, 6, sometimes 7 days a week. You'll be in the care of myself or someone else who is well trained in dosing the field with therapeutic amounts of kind eyes, vocal prosody. Maybe they're using mirror neurons to amplify a felt sense of safety through touch. We drop the group into like a really comforting, consistent, pretty predictable shared rhythm. So you get the feeling of going to therapy without going to therapy, and it costs way less. So you'll get a sense of support and stability, but without being put on the spot. There's no forced sharing or intimacy, definitely no surprise breakouts. So it's like the podcast, but a more kind of soothing, mellow vibe, and we get to go back and forth, just hanging out with like-minded others over Zoom. Yay. We love the internet. We'll miss it when it's gone. All right, so get all the information about the Numinous Network at carmenspagnola.com. CarmenSpagnola. Until next time, take care.